Now, first and foremost, what you're going to have to do is crop out the metal objects out of the photos that you have. And metal objects could be anywhere, engine parts, or it doesn't really matter if you have a photo with some type of metal or aluminum or whatever it is. Then what you'll need to do is cut out those pieces and place them on their own separate layers like this, so they don't have any background. They're completely isolated from the background. Now I went ahead and already cut this viewer out of the photo just to save us some time here. If you would like to master the masking and cropping process in photos, then check out the masking mastery video on this course, and I'll show you a whole bunch of different ways on how to crop and mask and all that. So what we're going to do here is create a new image, and we can create a new image from the sketch if we want, but we have to decide how large we want this collage to be. And so what we can do is come over here to View and select New, and we can come over here and change this to inches and figure out, based on the size of a piece of paper, approximately how large we want this to be. And we could probably do something, probably something like 5 by 7. So I can go 5 width and 7 high with a resolution of 300 dpi, and I'll go ahead and click OK. And this is a pretty good size image here. And then what I'll do is click on the sketch image and drag that over to our new image here. And I'll come up here to Edit and Free Transform. And again, this could be a sketch of anything really. It could be a sketch of a trash can or a lawnmower. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have something to work with, you must get that sketch on the new image so you can use it as a guide when creating your collage. So this looks pretty good right here. And I'll go ahead and just confirm that. And then I'll go ahead and close this image out here, because I no longer need that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to decide where we're going to start this metal collage on this sketch. So we need to pick out an area, like let's say like his shoulder here. And all you do really is you need to select a portion of the sketch. So after you have an area where you would like to start, all you have to do is come over to the toolbar, and you can select one of the selection tools. And depending on if it's round or if it has straight edges, I'm probably going to select the polygonal lasso here. And what I'm going to do is just draw a selection around the area that I'm going to start with here. And this is really, this whole thing is just really a very repetitive process. It's a lot of, doing the same thing over and over and over again until you have the whole collage looking just like you want. But I'm going to make a selection around this shoulder here on the robot. And then what I'll do from here is go over to our viewer image, and I'll make that background invisible. And then what I'll do is come over here to select all, and edit, copy merged. And you'll be doing this a lot if you're working on any type of collage. But I'm going to come over here to the sketch image, our new image here. And then what I'll do is come up here to edit and then select paste into. Okay, so paste into. So we're just pasting into this part of the shoulder here on the robot. And then what we do, here's the magic folks, is just select the move tool, and you need to move this photo here around until you find out, or you find an area that you like or that you think that looks good on this area of the object or the sketch. Let me go ahead and just zoom out just a little bit here. And we can also rotate inside this mask. All we've done is basically paste it into the selection that's created a layer mask for us. And we can make that layer mask, we can disable it if we want. And so there's no layer mask, and so we see the entire viewer here. But I'm going to go ahead and just enable that. And then all I'll do is just move this around. Come up here to Edit, Free Transform, and I can actually resize it inside if I want to. I can rotate it. So we can do something like anything that looks like a shoulder. something like this, and you can sort of visualize that you're going to have to do this on both sides of this robot here, so you have to sort of keep that in mind as well. That's why I like to work with objects that have metal objects that have many different curves and shapes and different angles and things. And so that way when you start to create your collage, you have a lot to work with, not just like a flat panel or something like that. Anything with a lot of character to it, with a lot of dynamics, and if you have things sticking out of it, or if it has ridges, then I would recommend using something like that instead. So you're just going to have a lot more options to work with here. But there you go. Check that out. That looks pretty good. And I'll go ahead and just confirm that. And now that's always in there, and I can make that background invisible so we just see this part here. But we need this sketch as a guide. So let's go ahead and just move on here. What we can do is select the arm here, and I'll go ahead and select the polygonal lasso. And there's probably some areas on this sketch that we will not be using, so I will just go ahead and ignore those areas. It's totally up to you. You decide which areas you want to fill. And I'll just connect this, and then I'll come up here to edit, and we probably still have this viewer here in memory still. So I can just come up here to edit and paste into, and then edit free transform. And I'll zoom out, and then I can move this around, or I can rotate it and figure out what I want his shoulder to look like here. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty cool. And I'll go ahead and just confirm this. Now, just by looking at this, I can see that, we know this is his shoulder here, and so it looks like to me it would work better if there was a little bit of a shadow below this piece. So if you would like to learn how to make shadows, well, that's pretty easy to do. All we have to do is we can drag one piece below the other on the layers palette to place it underneath, and then I can hold down the control key and click on the layer mask for the part that I would like to add the shadow to, such as his arm here. And that'll load it as a selection. Then what we can do is create a new layer and then come over to the toolbar and change the foreground to black with a nice large soft brush. And then I can just come in here and paint on this just like that. Now we can adjust the opacity or do whatever we want, but I think for this really quickly here, I will just paint a little tiny shadow right there underneath the shoulder. Look at that. And then I'll come over here and select and deselect. So that'll help it, give a little bit more depth and detail, make it look a little bit more realistic. So don't forget about the shadows. That's really going to help your collage and making it look more lifelike, or like it was something that somebody actually built in real life.